Let's be frank about this. Rice paddy is not suited to growing vegetables. But a punk has got to do what a punk has got to do. I was raised in a house which had a kitchen garden that was twice the size of the house itself, and I've always wanted one for myself. Farming definitely runs in the family, but I married a Thai farmer's daughter, so here I am in Buriram, which is different to Norfolk. But actually not that different. In Norfolk, we had fen peat. In Buriram, we have clay, meaning that water was still the essence of our problem, and that managing it would be the key to our success. We started off by digging a pond, 40 metres by 40 metres by 8 deep, and we installed solar pumps that were capable of pumping this water anywhere on the farm at pressure and in volume. The water had to be filtered, the infrastructure protected from the sun, and all the while the farmhouse was being constructed. In short, to borrow from the US Marines, we had to improvise, adapt, and overcome. When in Buriram, do as the Buriramites do. And we had to listen to the locals, and they had this big tip. Termites. What? You say? Kill the buggers. No, they're your friends. And that was a big learning. Inside every termite mound, there were quantities of fertilizer and beneficial bacteria and mycorrhizae. Our house is equipped, like most modern houses, with termite eradication systems underneath. But in the field, we encourage them by dumping loads of cellulose. We don't use rice hulls. Rice hulls take between 3 and 5 years to decompose. We use Azolla instead. We use rice straw for mulching, not for composting. We use cow manure, mostly, and raw soil. We have our own cattle, and there's a water buffalo farm next door, so there's plenty of manure. To make compost, we start with a tarpaulin, upon which we dump the manure. And then we dump another pile next to it. We don't use bins or silos for making compost. We grow our compost heap with the fresh on the left and the mature on the right. This is about a year old. We allow the rain and the sun and the termites to do their work for us. They are our farmers. We apply that to our vegetable patch. We can grow anything with this superfood. Absolutely whatever we like. Have a look. French Marnero tomatoes. Heritage. No disease. A quick 4-day demonstration of the effectiveness of Azolla. Composted. Flowering. Bugs come in from the surrounding paddies and are treated organically. Quite simply, spray every 2 days. These are pictures from the early days of our shade house where we were trying to fix the banks by growing alongside the banks and allowing the roots to penetrate and cutting them off, leaving them in the banks, thus firming the banks up. Our ditches actually contain the best water on the farm because it's been inoculated or populated with beneficial bacteria. We used offcuts from the roof to shore up the banks initially. We bring well water into the shade house. We store it for 24 hours before use to let it settle. We got the wrong equipment. I tried to use a domestic pump from Bangkok before we found the correct equipment. We irrigate from under the soil. We never spray the leaves. Well water is not good. We have an industrial RO machine in the farmhouse that produces 6,000 litres per day, and we use that to make up our supplements. We use Korean natural farming methods to make up what's called JMS. We also use lactic acid bacteria, or lab, in order to condition the soil, and we spray this from overhead. Another vital piece of machinery, useful for making compost and feeding chickens, our chopper. Our compost contains more brown than you're probably used to seeing, and that's because we want to attract the termites to it. And we have the Azolla, moringa, and Napier and vetiver grasses to supplement if we need green. When we first set up the shade house, we didn't grow anything. We simply inoculated with mycorrhizae. We used the Korean method. You need to look up this yourself. But basically we collected as many mushrooms from the area as we could, and we fermented those. If you look under our soil, you will see that it's rich in insect life. We have nurseries dotted around the house where we raise seedlings and harden them out. need to have the infrastructure to support storage if you're going to be self-sufficient. We have a cold room and a workshop with a laboratory space for clean room and so forth. This is a short on how we developed the shade house, which occurred when the house itself wasn't built, and how we're subsequently developing that on. We used 50% shade cloth, so in some areas it's doubled and even tripled. Before the compost covering had arrived, we were planting maize around the edges, allowing the roots to remain in the soil after the plant had matured. We then covered everywhere with cardboard and laid down compost and wood chips, courtesy of Duncan at Sky Farm Organics. We didn't plant on the compost and wood, we simply left it and supplemented it. This was to allow the fungi and mycorrhizae to develop. Once we'd developed our skills and had the infrastructure and confidence, we then started to expand by filling in the paddy down from the shade house. Here we've built barns for chickens, mushrooms, black soldier flies and worms. We intend to be self-sufficient in chicken feed. We're going to be using Australorps, a cross between British Orpingtons and Rhode Island Reds. We'll have 30 birds and we expect them to start laying from the age of about 5 months.